Do we have a nice number?
We have a what?
All good.
All good. We are here. This is the important piece. All right, welcome everybody. Come on in, come on in. I'm going to give just a minute for people to get into the webinar. We are recording, so that is the most important piece of everything. In case you have to leave early, or the question always is this being recorded? Will we get the replay? Yes, it is being recorded and you will get the replay. We will send that out to everybody as soon as that processes and we're able to get it to you this afternoon. So I am very excited to have Honorée Corder with us here today. I'm not going to read her bio just yet or get started just yet because I want to make sure everybody is here and ready to go. So we can get in there. So a little bit of housekeeping before we get started. We are doing a webinar style here. So we do have a Q&A box. So if you have questions for Honorée, and we hope you have lots of questions, please go ahead and drop those in the Q&A box. You are more than welcome to use the chat right now to tell us who you are, where you're coming from, why you're excited about this webinar, what you hope to learn from it, whatever you want to share with us. You can go ahead and drop that information in the chat and of course communicate in the chat throughout. But if you have a question, please use the specific Q&A box. We don't want to lose your questions in the mix, and we generally have a chatty group, so lots of them get knocked in there. All right, so we are going to be doing a very informal conversation style webinar today, so we can really just have a chat, a conversation about this, talking about the things that you can do. So this is geared mostly towards nonfiction authors because most of us are in the space of writing books that teach, coach, inspire, do things like that, that it should be pretty easy. And I say easy, simple, whatever, as in like, it may not be easy to execute, but it's not hard to think of ways that you can take that and expand on it so that you're really building your audience and figuring out other ways to create revenue sources around the work that you're doing. Honorée is the expert at that, and she is going to be talking us through all of these things. Let me go ahead and enable the captions quickly before I forget. There are closed captions are available and turned on if you need those. And I think that is all the housekeeping I need. We covered it's going to be recorded. We'll send it to you. We are going to use the Q&A box for questions. And we are all in here from all over the place, all the way from Hawaii to Europe and up and down North America. So yay, we're covering it all over there. All right, let's get started here. So some of you may recognize Honorée. She was one of our guest speakers at the 2023 Women in Publishing Summit, and we talked a similar type of conversation, making money from your book. And I just, for those of you who are in here, and this is the next thing I'd like you to drop in the chat, is what are you writing about? Because that really, I know when we're talking, it helps us to know and understand kind of what areas of expertise people are in. But for a lot of us, we're authors. We may be authors first. We may be business owners first who have a book that supplements the business, or we may be starting something completely new from that. But book sales often are not going to be your number one generator of revenue. It's really difficult to sell enough books to make a living off of one book in particular, or even less than probably like 10. I don't know. Honorée's got 70. So maybe she can share with us like when the book sales actually became a lead piece of the revenue. But often for nonfiction authors, it's not the sale of the book that makes us the money. It's the sale of the course that goes with the book. It's the speaking engagements. It's the programs that you create with that. It's the workshops that you do. And it's really important as an author in this sphere to embrace the fact that this is how you can earn more money and fully make a living around your knowledge base, your coaching, your skills, and all that. So that is the intro to it. Let me tell you briefly about Honorée in case you missed the summit and didn't get to speak her there. She is an author, a publishing consultant, a TEDx speaker, founder of Indie Author University, co-founder of the Empire Builders Masterclass, which I am really excited to be a part of in this next year. And she's published more than 70 books and helped hundreds of professionals and entrepreneurs successfully craft, write, publish, launch, market, and monetize their books. And if you've heard of the Miracle Morning and Hal and everything that he's doing with that whole industry. She's also a major part of that business as well. So knows what she's talking about in all of these spheres, author first, and wow, a bunch of business built around the business of being an author. So welcome, Honorée. Thank you so much for joining us. That was a really long intro to you.
Hi, so glad to be with you. I always love every minute I spend with you. So what a blessing. Thank you for having me, and bonjour to our friends in Switzerland, and hello to everyone from all over the place, including aloha. I spent a few years in Hawaii living there. So
I did not know that. That's fun. Of course, I don't know everything about you. So this is the learning.
yes,
We're learning.
of course, same.
That's so exciting. Okay, so we've got lots of things in the chat that before we go into it, just kind of seeing what people are writing on. We've got everything from children's picture books to inspiring stories on sobriety, memoirs on factitious disorders, plays and children's books, helping people take their ideas and launch things. That's great. Self-publishing and working with authors, working about healing, escaping abuse and divorce handbooks. This is great. That's also, you have a couple books on, well, single parenting, not sure about
Single parenting, 2 books on divorce. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Healing. So lots of a variety of folks in the coaching, inspiration, and all of that kind of stuff. So teacher training, that's awesome.
Yeah. You have the Miracle Morning for Teachers. I wrote that. I was the co-author for that one. Yeah.
Nice.
All kinds of good stuff. Yeah. Look,
So
I can't take my eyes off the chat, Alexa. I'm distracted.
Shut it down. All right. So I guess let's just start into the conversation here. And the biggest, the where to start, I believe, is why, and I just touched on it, but why is repurposing your book's content into a new stream of revenue and income? Why is this an important thing to consider?
Yes. Well, so what you said is very important, that it is a challenge. It's not impossible. It's totally possible to earn a living from the royalties of your book. However, as a nonfiction author, you are an expert in a space. You are a SME, subject matter expert, and you have already done the heavy lift of crafting, writing, and publishing your book, or in the process thereof, because I don't always believe you need to wait to repurpose the content for after you've published, but we can dive into that a little bit later. You can take the contents that you've already crafted and repurpose them into content because you've already put everything together. You've already got the puzzle pieces together. You can actually take them apart and put them together in a different way. I like to think of it as making your content consumable in the way your customer or reader or consumer wants to assimilate them. A book allows someone to read something and then really kind of drive the bus on their own transformation. If you create a course, it allows them to have more access to you and a broader and deeper learning environment. If you provide a companion guide, such as a journal or a workbook or a companion planner or a companion guide, it allows someone to facilitate their transformation, not just try to figure it out, but actually give them a place to make that transformation for themselves. So that why do it? Because you can, because it's
well, and it doesn't have to be like super hard. Like you just gave some
No.
great examples of like a companion workbook.
Yeah.
Even if you already have like things in the book, like I know a lot of times people will take and they'll have activities or action steps or questions or whatever. You can take those fairly easily and really develop them further into an additional product that goes alongside the book. So it doesn't have to be like, oh my gosh, this is going to take me 7 years to create something else that can go with my book.
No, as a matter of fact, I'm in the process of, I finished my next book and I'm creating the companion to go with it. The companion, if the book takes this long, the companion takes this long. It's a fraction of the time, because again, what you just said, you kind of gave a hint to how to do it. If you're asking questions in your book and saying, here's the thing you need to do, or, there are probably 3 questions you need to ask yourself. Then you say, what are the 3 questions you need to ask yourself? And then you tell your designer, insert lines for the rest of the page and the next page, right? So now you have 2 pages in your workbook or journal that the reader is going to fill out,
Mhm.
which I think is just beautiful because it allows them to take action on the advice you've given. And that exponentially increases the likelihood they are actually going to make that transformation, put your advice into action, and benefit from your knowledge.
Yeah, and then the next, I mean, and then it feels like a really easy transition. Again, I use the word easy, but just from the thought process of planning it out, to take that and to put it into a course, because now you have these workbooks, these steps, these companions, all of these types of things. And then it's the digging into the deep part of it and teaching the how. So it's one thing to give a companion guide that says, you know, here's some things you can do, but then the course is the next level of saying how, step by step. How do we go through these? How do we do that?
Yes. Yes. I saw a couple of questions that are important. Can I answer them real quick? Can I go rogue?
Absolutely. Yeah, go for
Yeah,
it.
so one person asked if my books were self-published. Yes, all of them are self-published except for foreign translations. That goes through an agent and through traditional publishers in those foreign countries. And then is the companion an ebook? And so Diane, I'm going to answer that. And the answer is yes and no. I always do an ebook for the companion, even if it's something where someone is supposed to fill it out, because I don't like a whole bunch of workbooks and journals. I work in one journal at a time. I would buy the ebook companion and then fill it out in my own journal. However, 2 reasons you want to do an ebook and a paperback book. Retailers do not cross market. They will not say, oh, you bought the paper book of this book, the paper version, the hardcover. They will not market an ebook to you of the companion. So you want to have an ebook companion, even though that seems weird, right? Who sells an ebook version of a journal? Well, if you have a journal that goes with your book, you want to create the ebook version because you will be marketed the same type of product. Does that make sense? Am I English? Am I speaking?
The English
Okay,
is coming
perfect.
out.
English is my first language, pretty much my only language. I speak a little French, but I want to make sure I'm getting it. And so if you only do an ebook version of your book, or you do an ebook and a paperback, but you only do a paperback version, a physical version of your journal, because that would make logical sense. But from a strategic perspective, not having the ebook version means that only people who bought the physical version will be marketed the same physical version of the companion. And you don't want to miss out on people finding out about a way to have their transformation.
Yeah. Yeah, and so there's just, I mean, I guess then you just have to get into the logistics of how do you make an ebook, but I mean, people do it all the time.
Designers know how to do that. It's making the images static on the page. So when it pulls up on your phone, e-reader, or on your Kindle, or on your whatever, your iPad, it will have that image be static on the page.
There you go. Who do you work with for foreign translations? Tracy wants to know.
So that is a whole
That's a different thing. I know.
But it's an agency. So you get an agency in New York that specializes in foreign translations. Asterisk, see fine print below. You must write a book published in German, and you must market your book is coming in German next year, because I made friends with the woman who owns the German publishing company who did the Miracle Morning translations in German. I just made friends with her. We love dogs. I sent her an email. I followed her on social media. And then one day I just said, would you like to translate this? And I went direct, and she said, yes. It's all, the whole world runs on relationships, Alexa, as you know.
Yes, it does.
And this was one opportunity to do the foreign translation. Another way to do it is to find someone who is native English speaker and native whatever language you want to publish in, and they do translation services, because you can contract with them and pay them directly and facilitate those translations privately as well. It's easier, and it's found money when it's done by an agency, if you can get one.
Yeah, and like you said, foreign rights, foreign translations, all that kind of stuff. That is like, and that's so much knowledge base that we can like. But yeah. I like the answer
talk
of
about that later.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about then. basically to Diane's question was, you could do it in lots and lots of formats. I would imagine you could even find some ways to do it in an audiobook format, like depending on what your companion is, there would be opportunities for that too. I mean,
Sure.
who knows? Who knows? Lots of think outside the box, right? Okay,
Yeah.
so why repurpose? Basically for additional revenue streams, but also for additional ways for people to find out about you. And I
Yeah.
think that's really important too, because some people find you because you do a workshop and then they find all the other things, you know.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely. The wider you can cast your net, the higher likelihood people are going to discover you and come into your ecosystem. And then they will say, gosh, I really like her. She seems to have cool stuff. What else does she have? And that's how I do it. Who has read Colleen Hoover? And now who is down the rabbit hole of Colleen Hoover, right? You find one and then off we go. What else does the person have that would be beneficial to me or that I would like? And so you want to cast your net far and wide so that you can find and people can find you.
All right, so we've talked about the initial first ones, the companion guide, and then creating a course, maybe a journal. There are so many options for this. Let's just talk about all the different options.
So options for companions or options for repurposing content, or both?
Let's do it all. We'll start with, wherever you want to start with that.
All right. So we started with what can go with your book. And so if you have a question about what can go with your book, go ahead and put it in the chat and we'll circle back to it. Because I want to stay focused. I feel a little like a squirrel. I'm all wanting to be in the chat. So I'm going to blinders on for just
use the Q&A box so that she can turn off the chat. So
whatever that is. Yes. So companion guide, companion planner, journal, action guide. I'm actually doing for my next book. This is breaking news. I haven't told anyone this other than my design team. I'm doing a notebook.
Oh,
so I've never done anything called a notebook before, but it's the I Am a Writer notebook. And it's for anyone who is an aspiring writer, is a writer, or wants to become a writer, or loves someone who wants to become a writer. So I'm creating it as a companion, not a companion, standalone, but goes with a book. That's all I'm going to say right at the moment, but kind of a fun thing. I like to take risks and play with things to see how they work. All of that to say, it does not have to be traditionally what you think of when you think of what's a companion. I would rather you ask yourself the question, what makes sense for my reader? How can my reader put what I have put into practice? Do they need a journal? Do they need a workbook? Do they need a planner? Do they need an action guide? What is it that they need to take the advice that I'm giving in my book, or crystallize their thoughts, or make a transformation? How would they best make that happen in their own lives? Think from the perspective of the reader. If you want them to buy the thing that you are creating for them to use, it needs to make sense for them. And you have to consider the fact that anybody can buy a blank notebook from the grocery store for 97 cents, right? So you want to create something that they think, I have to pay for this. This makes sense for me to pay for this because I'm going to actually utilize it. Does that make sense, Alexa?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Okay. But there's so much more.
So I'll keep going. I have the C's, right? The 4 C's of repurposing content. So there's coaching, there's consulting, there's certifications, and then I did companion products already. So coaching can be one-on-one coaching, it can be group coaching, and it can be institutional or corporate coaching. So one-on-one coaching is one animal. Group coaching is a way to leverage your leveraged content, right? So taking the contents of your book and creating a group coaching program. And then you can either do one-on-one or group coaching in a corporate environment. So those are 3 separate and distinct ways to monetize the contents of your book. And then you can get kind of in the weeds about how am I creating the collateral materials, like your journal, your companion guide, your planner, to go with your coaching program. There's also consulting, which is different from coaching, and it's a distinction with the difference. We don't have to focus too much on that, but you can do some pretty wonderful consulting and generate consulting with your book, execute it with the contents of your book, with your expertise. And then certifications. And I don't talk a ton about certifications, but if you have a process that you're teaching in your book that would be helpful. And I'm happy to give a real example from one of my books, if that would be good.
Yeah, sure. I can think of one off the top of my head too, from a couple of people like yoga instructors, for example.
Yeah.
Many yoga instructors are certified in certifying yoga instructors, so they could have obviously their own program. Yeah.
Correct. Exactly the same. So I created a coaching program years ago. It's a 100-day program, and I certified coaches for a long time. I just certified 2 more coaches in the program so that in their coaching practice, they can use a process that is tried and true. So they're using it to grow their businesses. So if you have a process that you teach and you know it works, then you can create a certification program, and people will either pay you. I know someone's going to have this question. They're either going to pay you for the certification and then they're out, or they don't pay for the certification and they pay you based on the revenue that they generate. So they pay a portion of the revenue, kind of like a referral fee.
Okay, that's
So
interesting.
there are a couple of different ways to do it, and you can certify them once, or you can certify them every year. Lots of different options with that. I've done that with a coaching program. I've done it with the divorce coaching program. I've done it with a single mom program. So I have a lot of experience with it, and I've done it all different ways. It's really what makes sense for your business. Then
Yeah, I would guess certification of all the different things that we've talked about is probably the hardest one to do, and probably the one that you put kind of at the end of
Sure.
like, start with your funnel of unless you already certify people in what you're doing, then it's kind of like taking it and putting it online, right?
Unless you have a coaching business
Right.
or a consulting business and you have a book and companion and perhaps a course, that's another one. Courses, we didn't even talk about courses yet. That's a whole other C, right? Unless you have all of those things in place and people are saying, wow, I wish I could use that in my practice. I wish I had something like that. Because in consulting or coaching, what I have found is that people like something tangible, even if it's intangible. Coaching is kind of intangible. I'm going to pay you. We're going to have conversations. What's going to happen? Having a program with some deliverables really gives people peace of mind that they're actually going to get something tangible from your conversation.
I want to kind of reset for a second here, just based on the types of questions that I'm seeing and
Sure.
some of the other things. So just to take a step way back here to the very beginning and think about this from a business mindset. So it looks like most people in the room are either falling in one of 2 camps, well, 3 camps: fiction or other than nonfiction books, which is great. You can certainly brainstorm on how you could apply some of this stuff into your world, but this webinar isn't. And the speaking, the consulting, the companion guides, those are fun things that fiction authors can do too. I've seen people add journals that go with a series.
Yes.
Fun to pull that in. So there are ways that you can do this. Then we have the nonfiction folks who have either just written one book or are in that process and are brand new to this. So what we're trying to do here is we're trying to think of ways that you can take that one book and you can do more with the knowledge that's in that one book, or the extra knowledge that could be added into it to expand what you're selling and what you're doing other than just the sales of that book. So that's why we're talking about creating additional things that go along with it: a guide, a workbook, a journal. Those are I think that an easy place to start. And then you move into the workshops, the courses, all that, which we'll get into in a minute. Then we have the people who are already running businesses. And now your job is to think of, what else can I do that makes sense to utilize this book and to utilize my knowledge, or to utilize what I already have to grow into bigger revenue streams? Because at the end of the day, what Honorée and I want people to walk away from this is feeling like you have ways to create anything you want to add to your business to bring in more revenue streams, i.e., different pools of money than just getting royalties from selling your book, because selling your book can be really hard. And if you're not in the right places and in front of the right, so it's just really great to have other ways to add money into your business. So I just wanted to start there as a baseline to bring back. We had some people come in a little bit later. We've had some other people ask questions that I just want to make sure that's where our baseline is today. Okay. Now let's talk. Well, let me see. Oh, Irene has a great question for you. And that is, do, do you, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to laugh when I said that, but do you
Okay.
charge people for your courses you create, or do you post them for free on YouTube?
I charge people for my courses. I have lots of courses, and yes, I do charge for them, and they are a nice way to, courses are a nice way to add to your impact and your income for sure.
Can I piggyback on this one just a little bit?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think a lot of times people will say, and I know I have said this too, as a way to build a lead magnet, sometimes you can do, or to build your email list, sorry, sometimes you can use like a mini course as a
Mhm.
lead magnet. But Irene, this is not where, like Honoree's courses, these are like in depth in the, like you're going to learn big skills that will help you move forward to the next level. So when you're doing something like a big skill, you definitely want to charge for that. Also, we're looking at ways to make more money. So if you're just giving away more stuff for free, then you're not necessarily making more money. So, but you can, in theory, like, especially when you're new and you don't have the network yet, and you're trying to build that network, you could do like a mini course that's just a teeny tiny bitty piece of it that pulls people into your network that you then can market for your other courses to. What do you think about that, Honoree?
I have a couple of free webinars that are available. So it's very similar. When I do a webinar, I'm teaching. So this whole conversation that we're having, I'm giving you real things that you can put into practice right now. I do that in everything that I do. I also have a couple of challenges. I have the 8-day write your book challenge that's free. It's a challenge versus a course, but it's really 8 days of putting things into practice so that someone can build that muscle and be off to the races of writing. So it's potato, right? It's a course. I just call it a challenge. And then I do what you say. I actually have big courses, but then I have taken one of those courses, publishing PhD, and I just carved out of it the very first section, craft your book, which is a taste of the course. It's the first chapter of the course, which then people can upgrade to the full course if they want to, and then they can apply their investment to the full course. So there are lots of different ways to do it, but yes, we're talking about how you can actually earn money, because list building is different from income building.
Yes.
Yeah.
Although, it's easier. I think it's easy, obviously easier to sell something when you have an email list of people to sell it to.
Of course.
But I
Yeah,
mean, there's so many ways to give people small snippets of things that you don't have to give away everything and pull them into what you're actually teaching or doing.
And you want to train your audience to buy things.
Yes.
Fair. If you train people that you give stuff away for free, then they'll just get the things for free, and I have a wonderful email that goes out every day, and it's a lot of learning. And I have a lot of people that haven't bought anything, because I've trained them a little bit that they get something for free, but I do want to add value to everyone. So I have lots of different things at lots of different price points.
Okay. When back to this, Diane has a question about the certification program. Can you make up your own certification and not be technically certified through another coaching program?
Yep.
Yeah, why not? I mean, you're not teaching people how to be a surgeon, so I hope.
No people or animals are harmed in the certifying of coaches.
That's right. So, I mean, obviously this depends on what your certification is. If it's something that someone may be injured in, if you're certifying people to do this, then I would not do it that way. But if it's something like, I could decide to certify people how to be a book coach in the way that I coach authors, and I don't need to be certified by anyone to create my own certification.
Correct.
Right. Okay, cool. Which is more helpful to, I don't know if this one will be able to be answered in this one, but do you use YouTube or TikTok?
I do. I have a YouTube channel with Lucas, actually, the Empire Builders Masterclass. We do a weekly live video and we do a teaching from it. So absolutely. My hair is silver, everyone. So no TikTok for me.
And Marguerite, I think the answer to that question is really where your audience is. If your audience is watching YouTube, which a lot of people across the age range are, I think YouTube is for everybody. TikTok has its own specific audience bases.
Yep.
So, do you want to get into this? Do we want to go back and continue our discussion on all the things that come along with it? Or do we want to get into the selling piece? How do you sell the courses? Do you need to build an email list? All of that. That's a question. Do we want to start?
Whatever makes sense for everyone who's here.
So Well, we're talking about marketing the courses. So let's go, well, you know what? I'm going to rethink that. Let's go back and talk about all the different ways, and then we can come back and get more
Okay.
into the specifics.
Yeah.
And what I want to say to everybody is you can upvote the questions in the Q&A box. So if there's something you really want to hear about, go in and click the upvote thingy so we can make sure the most popular questions get moved up to the top. And
It also
Carol,
wants us to complete the list of ways to repurpose our book. So let's just give a couple of
yes,
more, if that's all right.
let's complete the list of ways. Let's do that.
Perfect. Perfect. So there's speaking. And so there's keynote speaking. There's all the different ways that you can speak on stage. So it would be delivering keynote speeches, delivering workshops, being on a panel, doing any type of training. All of those are ways that you can stand and deliver your content. And so you're either going to be a professional speaker and sell books in the back of the room, be a professional speaker where someone buys books in exchange for, or in concert with, a speaking engagement, or all of the above. There's no limit to it. But then training is also its own animal, right? You can be a trainer, a corporate trainer. I was a corporate trainer and I'm also a keynote speaker. So those are two distinctly different situations. And both of those can be the product of your book, or a book can be the product of those situations.
Awesome. You know, that we had somebody do a workshop a couple years ago, actually, and this was a really interesting one. I think, especially for people in the nonfiction world who have something that serves community-based type things, like some of you are doing trauma healing, or you're doing, I've seen some other things about like working with children, working with other things that would be like maybe there's a community-based nonprofit or organization that works on these topics or provides services, and grants. There's a lot of opportunity for building in a grant for a nonprofit where you come in and you say, I will teach a workshop on this topic and provide copies of my book or provide my workbook, or we'll go through it, and you build it into a grant with that organization. And we don't have enough time to talk all the way through that entire process, but that's another way. I had never even considered that. And she said, oh yeah, she writes grants for organizations that include the cost of her workshop, her book, and her training as part of that grant. It's a win-win situation for everybody.
It is. And there's a lot of grant money.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And you can also do that training, which I did for the Miracle Morning for Teachers. I did that training for teachers that were part of a nonprofit and recorded the course. And now the course is available paid and free.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
so
Okay, so have we made it all the way through all the list of the
we've made it through the big block list, and each one of those can be niched down. Like the coaching was 3 different options, right? So each main thing can be several specialty things.
All right. So
Yeah.
before we then get into the specifics on the questions on like marketing and driving traffic and all of that stuff, let's make sure that we talk about the first step that people need to think about, which is, how do you just get started like right away? What's the process for determining which one you're going to do first and moving into that?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And I'm so glad that you asked it, because a lot of people want to know, what do I need to do first? What's the thing which stream should I do? And my question back is always, what's the level of urgency around income? How quickly do you need to monetize the income stream that you're spinning up? I would not recommend that if someone wants to make a living with their book, that they write a book first, right? Because
yes,
writing a book,
she said. Don't start with the book.
don't start with the book, because the book takes, to do it well, to do it professionally. And just so you all know, for clarification purposes, I am the person that believes the more professionally you can publish your book, the longer it will work hard for you. It will be an asset that works hard for your business. If you self-publish it in a big fat hurry and you don't do it well, it will not work as hard for you as if you invest the time and money it takes to produce and publish a quality book.
Amen.
Having said that, when you're looking at any one of these opportunities, you want to really be clear with yourself. What is your path and timeline for revenue? How quickly do you need revenue? And that will influence how fast or which item you should choose. My recommendation to someone when they are saying, I need revenue right now. So what's the date today? Today is August 22nd. If someone says to me, I got to pay my rent on September 1st, Honorée, what do I do? I have a book, but I'm not sure what to do. I always lean into things that you can put up very quickly, such as a coaching program. So if you have a book, you have a coaching program. Is it a 30-day coaching program? Is it a 21-day coaching program? Is it a year-long coaching program? But you can, in one afternoon, take the contents of your book, outline a coaching program, put a price tag on it, and start talking about it. That is a really fast path to generating revenue. So once you have answered that question, how fast do I need to make money? Then you get into, all right, so what do I want this income stream to do for me in my business? Right? Where is it taking me? What's the long-term view? I don't tend to like to answer the question, how fast do I need to make revenue? Because then it's all about the money and it's not about the long-term play. It's not about long-term satisfaction. It's not about strategic thinking and where is the business going, which is how you're going to make the most money. I prefer that you have a little less focus on the revenue, but I understand that there are some people that say, that's a fine and good, Honorée, but I got to pay my rent on the 1st of September, right? So I wanted to answer that one right out of the gate. Having said that, if you can pull back from the revenue only and get into where does what you're going to do next fit into the overall picture of your business. So I'd like to use You Must Write a Book as my example here to give some people like the long-term view of what's possible. I wrote You Must Write a Book and published it in October of 2016. Not very long after that, I published the I Must Write My Book workbook by request. People said, where do I do the exercises that you talk about in this book? And then the next level of request was, I'd like to have a course. Where do I go to learn more? How do I interact with you? So long-term book, workbook, course have been very good. Long-standing, 2016 was a long time ago now. That is now 2 books. You Must Write, You Must Market Your Book. Soon to be You Must Monetize Your Book, book, workbook, course for each one of those. So I have all 3 courses done and 2 books and 2 workbooks. I'm filling in the blank. And then you know about the Empire Builders Mastermind, which is over all of that for the people who say, now I want to hang out with you. I want to learn more. How that applies to what you all are doing with your books is you think, what's the arc of your reader? What's the journey that they would go on? And where does your first book or your original book fit into that? How can you strategically pull back the lens and think, how am I taking people on this journey that they're on so that they can get from where they are, point A, all the way to the end of their journey successfully with the least amount of pain and suffering in the fastest, most joyful and profitable and prosperous way? So I'm sure there are a lot of questions that came out of that, but I like to pull the lens back and look from a long-term strategic impact and income perspective.
And I think that's a really important piece to add in here, everyone, is that while you just gave a short-term solution for what's the quickest thing I can start to make money, there's pieces of it you have to, it's a long-term plan overall, right? Like we're not just like throwing stuff out there, but if you have to do something quickly, like for me, I find that a workshop is a fairly quick turnaround time. You can, market that, sell a workshop, do those types of things, but you have to have an audience. So I'm curious, this is there's a lot, so many things we could get into on this. Like, what do you recommend for the people who don't already have an existing audience? Is it finding other people that they could do their workshop in front of seeing if they can pitch another person and say, hey, can I come teach this workshop for your audience? Or
so it's the same question you ask is where is my customer hanging out? Where's my reader hanging out? And who has influence over them? If you do not already have a big list, then you want to get into joint venture situations or collaborative situations with people. You want to get on their podcasts. You want to provide a pitch to them that helps them to understand that you will benefit their audience, because it is not about you. It's not that they don't care, it's that they don't care about you, but they do care about you if you can provide value to their audience. If you can come to the table and educate and inspire their audience, and you can do a revenue share on it, or you can provide some sort of compensation, that will go a long way. You've got to build the relationship and then get access to their audience. And I don't know about you, Alexa, I would imagine it's hard to get in front of your audience, that you are hesitant to just put any
Right.
person in front of your audience, as am I. And so I'm always looking for, how can I add value to the people that I influence? Because I always want them to say, oh my gosh, thank you, that was amazing. Not, what was that?
Right.
What
Exactly.
happened
Like,
there?
oh, I know. Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Yes.
Just you have to think to yourself, like, how can I implement these in a way that's going to make sense, that grows the business, that grows the thing. And you have to be thinking from a growth mindset across the board, like business here. We're pulling ourselves out of the book writing world and we're putting ourselves into the, how now do I take my knowledge base and build a business out of it? And I think that's an important mind shift for people to make, because it's not just about driving traffic to your book anymore. It's about doing all of these different things. And I remember way back in the day when I was first getting started and trying to figure out, to the same point, like, I need to make money right now. What do I do to make money right now? Well, I have a skill, I have a knowledge base. I knew how to help people get through this. So the very first thing that I did was I just slapped up a consulting call option on my website. And, it was very inexpensive. It was not a huge, but I was just like, I am open for business. If you have questions and want to spend 30 minutes or an hour with me, here's the link, go do that. That's easy too.
Yes. And over time, that number has gotten bigger. I'm sure you still have the, I can talk to Alexa, insert American Express card here. It's just a bigger number. I have that as well. I don't do it as much anymore. I don't do straight up one-on-one coaching, except when I do, that's an option. But if you need to make money today, that is an option for you. And I saw someone say, like, not all books require coaching. Correct. You like woodworking as an example. Then do some woodworking in front of a YouTube video and show people what they could make with their woodworking, and why you're choosing what tool you're using and why you're choosing the wood you're choosing. Is there a difference between birch and oak and pine? And why would you choose those? And what are your woodworking tools? And when do you stain it? I don't know, I'm making this up, but I live in a log cabin and we just went to go look at a log package. So I have a little bit of this in my mind, but it's thinking about your end user and what do they want to learn from you? And the thing you take for granted, the thing you do without even thinking about it, is the thing that people are going to go, you just blew my mind. I had no idea.
Yeah, and we don't have the time to delve into this piece, but that is such a great example to even think about, like, even expanding outside of the things that you just talked about. Like, if you're doing those free YouTube tutorials or something, you have the opportunity to have affiliate marketing. Like, if you're giving people a list of tools that they should be buying,
Right.
send them
Right.
to Amazon affiliate link, or send them to a company that you have an
Right.
affiliate relationship with. So it's really, again, just to make sure that people are on the same page with us here, we are really expanding outside of just writing a book. We are talking about what else can you do to help bring in some money to help you as you build this business, as you build this knowledge base, as you expand out to really make a living as an expert, as an expert in your
Right.
field, as an author, and
Yes. Author plus.
Author plus. That's right. All right. We are getting questions like crazy in the Q&A
Good.
box. Let's go back to these. So
All right.
now let's get into the question of, so how do you even sell these courses? And do you need to build the email list first? I mean, we kind of just delved into some of that stuff, but
yeah. So free webinars are a great way to build your email list and sell courses. So when I did my first real grown-up course, I had a friend of mine who's an expert in courses and a book marketing expert. And he said, Honorée, you have to do this course. And I said, I do not. Because I didn't know what I didn't know. And he said, we're going to do it together. We're going to do a joint venture. It's like, you're the subject matter expert. I have all the tools. We're going to do this together. We're going to do a joint venture. And I did building $1 million book business. So he recorded all the videos. He edited everything. We created a landing page. And then I did my first webinar and I was totally nervous. I didn't know what I was doing. Like, the first time you do something is the first time you do it. And that's totally fine. And I'm sure I was terrible, but we still made a whole bunch of money on the pre-sale before the course was even done. It was like, he basically was that swim teacher that was like, here, you're going to swim. Boop. And he threw me right into the pool. But we sold courses because we did a beta, we did a pre-sale, we proved the concept of the course. right? So if you don't want to go to all the trouble of creating something, unlike a book, you can't really pre-sell a book and not deliver the book at some point. You can
Right.
pre-sell a course, and if nobody's interested in it, if you're, doing a kitten leg warmers course and nobody's like, I don't want to learn how to knit kitten leg warmers, and you can say, okay, never mind, no course, and refund the 3 people that bought it. Or you can say, if I sell 20 courses, I think we said if we sold 15 courses at $1,000, we would do it. I think we sold 37 and then 53, like the
Nice.
first few days and then the longer term. And so, okay, great. It was worth it to go ahead and fulfill the course. We did a beta. We required people to complete one lesson before they got to the next one, but they got it at 50% off.
Mhm.
And this was 5 years ago when I created the course. And I sold it for $2,000 and then $3,000 for years. And I just now recently reduced it back to $1,000 because it's 5 years old and I have new courses and new things. And so I thought, why not? I can do that. So you prove the concept, you put up a landing page, you sell the beta, you create the course, have a great time with it, keep your learner in mind, and go from there. There's so much more, but I think those are the basics as to not overwhelm with lots of info.
Yeah. Well, and this might be a great point too, as we're getting close to 10 minutes out from the top of the hour.
Wow.
You have a course that teaches all of this stuff, right? And I don't want to, before people start hopping off as they move on to their next thing, let's talk about your course, and then we'll get back to these questions. Don't worry. Let's talk about your course and what's covered in it and how people can access that course.
Yep. So it was the course I was just talking about, building $1 million book business. It takes your book and helps you to repurpose it. And in the course, I provide everything, including a live Q&A 10 times a year. It's everything you need. It is not most of what you need. It is not some of what you need. It is everything that you need, from crafting your avatar, who needs the course, to legal agreements, processes, workbooks, companions, Q&As, downloadables, resources, people you can use. I included everything in it. At the time, it was 13 6- and 7-figure income streams I had created from my books, all the books.
That's awesome.
Yes.
And we will provide a link where people can get access to that program. So don't worry, if you are interested in the course, you will get it. You'll get that information. Okay, so let's keep on going through these questions then. Let's see. What are the major strategies in pre-writing and post-writing stages a first-time author could do to make sales from their book? Okay, so that's more like a book marketing question. I don't know if you want to talk book marketing, or do you want to
That's a publishing and marketing question. And I think book marketing starts with the blank page. So the first question when it comes to writing your book isn't something that most people think about, but it's what's in it for you.
Right.
That's the first question. What's in it for you? What do you want? You want money? You want fame? You want fortune? You want freedom? What is it that you want? Stop in at WIIFM and answer that question. Do not be like, I want to change the world. I want to save the children. No, you want a pair of new shoes. You want a sweet ride. What's in it for you? Right. Then the second question is, what is the job of the book? What is the job of the book? The book is not your baby. It's your business asset. It needs to be out there doing something for your business. What is the job of your book? Then what do you want the reader to do when they've read your book? So you must write a book. I want you to write a book. What do you want the reader to not do? I want you to not write a crappy book that does not sell and does not fulfill your vision. And what do I want the right reader to do? Well, it's probably no surprise that I have a course for writing and publishing a book, publishing PhD, and I know we're going to provide a link to that. And this takes you from blank page to published book and the beginning of marketing. And then I've got a book marketing course too. We won't spend too much on that. But when you answer those questions, that will help to inform and influence what you put in the book and what you don't put in the book. What's in it for you? What is the job of the book? If the job of the book is to sell books, it's different content than if the job of the book is to bring you clients or customers. If the job of the book is both, then you'll need to think about the content when you're putting together your content. I can talk about the questions to put in books, if that would be helpful too, Alexa.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So when I'm outlining a book, any book, and I've done this a few times, as Alexa has mentioned, I write down there are 3 levels of questions. There, to ask. So I don't know anything about woodworking, but I know, do you use tools? Yes. What kind of tool do you use? What kind of wood do you use? And how do I make sure that I don't completely destroy my environment with wood shavings, right? Those are logical questions that come to me, right, from that. Now, the next level question is the questions that people who've been around a minute, they know to ask. So when it comes to publishing a book, what are my keywords? What are my categories? How do I figure that out? How do I bake in marketing into my book? And then there are all the questions that if you've never written and published a book, or you certainly haven't written and published more than 50, you wouldn't know to ask. It's the I don't know that I don't know questions, or the unconscious incompetent questions. You as an expert know the exquisite, detailed, not on anybody's radar questions. And those are your level 3 questions. So what are people already asking you because it's common sense? What are the people who have been around a minute asking you because it's a little bit, they've got a little bit more information? And then what are the unconscious incompetent questions? What are the questions people just don't know that they don't know to ask? And
Right.
I put those questions in order. I write out the questions, and then I start to answer the questions. Well, this is the answer, and this is the answer. And then it's the it depends answer. What's the job of the book? Well, the job of the book is to generate business. Oh, wait, the job of the book is to sell copies. So then you kind of drill down your outline. It's 10th grade English all over again, right? You have the topic, and then your 3 subtopics, and then your 3 subtopics to your subtopics. And you build out your outline. And then guess what? You just start writing. And then you add in some stories, and voila, you have a book. I've made it a lot more simple than it actually is, right? In terms of what else you have to know. But those are the basics on how I outline a book.
Love it. Okay, so Jennifer has a question. She says, her book is nonfiction. She wants to take it to shelters and teach women and men in some cases how to survive until they are thriving. What a beautiful mission. And she wants to reach other people in like or similar situations that are not at the bottom of the financial circumstances. Can you connect with this? And do you have any thoughts on?
I do.
All right.
Yeah, for sure. So I would do a book, and then I would do some kind of a healing journal to go with it. And I would approach nonprofits. I would approach nonprofits that serve shelters. So they're generally every shelter would be an organization. They'd be a 501c3, and they would probably have a CEO. They would have a board that they answer to, but they would also have partner agencies or parent agencies who fund them, provide funding and training for them. So you would want to go one level up. You'd want to go to the shelter and then see if they have a parent nonprofit that's helping them. Also, if they are part of sister agencies or networks of agencies, because if this shelter isn't available, then that shelter would be available. So you would create a network. And I would just go back to what I said originally, which is everything is run by relationships. So if you have a mission and you have something you can provide, I have generally done things for free or very low cost to get some street cred and some endorsements and start to build those relationships.
Awesome. Let's see. Ads. Do you like to use ads?
I use Amazon ads. I'm keeping in mind that anytime you use ads, the platforms are always going to change. And so you have to build in not only the time, you have to have the budget to basically light some money on fire until you figure out what you're doing. And you have to do it for the long term. There is no, I'm going to run an ad for a week and see if it works. And then know that you're going to have a learning curve. And then you're going to keep having that learning curve over and over again as the platforms change, because they're a business too. So they want to make money. They want to keep you in. They want to give you enough sales to keep you in, so that you are still paying them. But there are also ways to do things where you don't really need to run ads. That's kind of another conversation.
A whole nother conversation. All right, we got a couple questions here on the logistics of what does it mean when you did a beta? I think that's a great question, Prajna. What's a beta launch of a course mean?
Yeah, so I provided the course at a 50% discount in exchange for feedback. When someone buys any of my courses not in beta, they get access to the whole course right away. When someone gets access to a course in beta, at least the way I do it, they're getting one lesson at a time, and they don't get lesson 2 until you've completed lesson 1. So you have to go through the system, and the system is set up so that the content is delivered a little bit at a time, and you have to go through the initial content in order to get to the next content, in order to get to the next content, and provide any feedback. It allows you to discover gaps in your content if there are any. It allows you to fix any bugs in your platform or your content if there are any. It allows you to get feedback and make the course even better for the people who are going to pay full price later.
Cool. Do you need to be an expert to build the course? Do you need do you need an expert to help build the course, or is it something you can do alone?
Yes and yes. So it depends on your budget and your willingness to have it done in a really professional way. So I had a friend who helped me do my first course. I hired a company to do my second course. And then I now have a partnership and a relationship with someone whose expertise is courses. So Lucas Marino, Lucas, Alexa, has a course on monetizing your book with a course. So he has a book, monetize your book with a course, and he has the course, monetize your book with a course. And you can learn an awful lot from an expert that will save you time. So if you have the budget to invest, which I suggest you find it if you don't have it, right? Or you save up for it, because otherwise you can figure things out. But I guess I could build my own house if I wanted to. It's like, how hard can it be? I need some trees and some cement and right. I can just look it up on YouTube, but it would take me exponentially longer than hiring an expert to help me with my plans, having a contractor, right? Those sorts of things. So you can do it yourself, but a lot of times the information you're going to get, and I'm sad to say this, there are a lot of people who provide information on self-publishing and a lot of people who provide information on publishing in general and on book marketing, but sometimes they're not even authors, or they've only written one book. And so what they don't know, they don't know, and they certainly can't pass on to you. So while they're probably providing some basically good information, what they're not providing can cost you time and money. And what they don't know, they're giving you wrong information, like launch your book at 99 cents. Well, that's not a great strategy. It was 10 years ago, but it certainly isn't today. But a lot of people are still saying, put your book up for pre-sale and sell as many as you can at 99 cents. And you might as well just burn your book because you killed it before you've ever launched it. And most people don't know that because it's not their business, if that makes sense. So if you can, always hire an expert or engage an expert, learn from an expert.
Yeah. I mean, yes, there's a lot of information out there that can get people in a lot of trouble. That's a whole different different ball game there. Okay. I see a lot of questions about the grants topic. There's no way we could possibly even scratch the surface on that.
I'll give a name. I'll give a name. Honorée Rustic, Rustick. She has a book that she is the expert in the world on grant writing.
Oh, well, I have another expert that I will
recommend
as well. Laura, who built her entire business basically around grants. I mean, with grants. So I'm going to include the link.
Great
stuff we've done with her in the past as well, and Honorée Rustic. So I'll include both of those and you can dig into both of theirs. And
Holly has a great book.
Laura Lyles Reagan is the other one. She has a book for writing grants for authors or finding grants for authors and other resources. So I'll put both of those in the replay. And then, because it's a lot of information. That is not an easy process to go through either, but so worth it if you can make it work. And then let's see, I'm trying to see, we only have 1 minute left. So there's people asking, do you still have any free courses or assets, or how do people get on your email list so that they can get your wonderful emails that come out every day with all of the marketing information?
HonoreeCorder.com. Right on the main page is the 8-day write your book, the free 8-day write your book challenge. Did I say free? I did. And that will put you on my email list as well.
That's awesome. And I just dropped the link again to the Building $1 Million Book Business. That's the right course, right? Building $1 Million Book Business. Yes. So that's the one that's going to take you through all the things, answer all your questions, walk you step by step through the process of building a course to go along, or building more than just a course, right? It's all the pieces that go along with it.
It's all of the income streams I had up to the point when I created the course. So there's 13 different ways. We didn't even talk about bulk books, custom printed books, so many things. All of that's included.
Awesome. All right, everybody. Oh, we got another one. Danielle Desir Corbett also talks about money for creative small grants, writing grants, etc. So yeah, there's
Wonderful.
resources. Google is your friend, y'all, for many questions, but you just have to be careful, like what Honorée just said. There's a
Vet your
lot of
expert.
content out there. You got to make sure that you're getting it from a reputable source when
Yeah, vet your expert. Make sure they really know, right? If you hire a book marketing expert, make sure they've at least written one book.
That's an excellent point.
Maybe just
Yes.
one, maybe 20, maybe 50, but one is okay.
All right. So, any last things you want to throw out to the audience before we say adieu?
Just that it will take time. It will take time. It will take money. It will take more time and more money than you think, but it is absolutely worth it. Please keep going. Whenever you want to quit, instead of quitting, just rest. Just keep building your empire. Just keep writing. Just keep building your email list. Just keep building your brand, because you're going to look back 10 years from now and be really glad that you did that.
I agree with you so much. And it's not an easy fix. This is not a diet pill that's going to make you,
I know, if someone has one, please send it to me.
It's not a money pill. There's no money pills. There's
Right.
no easy gosh, I cannot speak. Get rich quick. Like, you have to put time and effort and energy into it. But I want to repeat what you said a minute ago on the book thing. It starts at the beginning of the process with creating and publishing a work that will work for you. And I have made this mistake of putting out books too fast, because I thought I have to get it done now. If I take any more time to do this, I'm going to miss the whatever. And you will always regret that. You will always, if take the time, slow down, do it right. You don't have to go into perfectionist zone where it takes you 25 years to publish it because you're waiting until it's perfect, but do it professionally. So, and same with your courses or anything else that you recreate about it. And Honorée is the expert. That's why I brought her here today. So definitely get on her email list for sure. Check out everything that she has going on. Check out the course to help you build this whole system. And we will have her back at the summit again this year. We haven't decided what topic she's going to bring to us, but it'll be something amazing.
Maybe they can tell us, what should I talk about?
Yes, that's a great question. What would y'all like, of all the things we talked about today, what would you like her to really hone in on? I feel like a lot of people would be interested in the building of the in the build up to market the course, like doing the things to build that audience for that course, building that beta list, doing that kind of thing. I don't know what y'all think. Build it before you launch it. Let us know. But nobody's answering. Did everybody leave? There we go. How to build a beta course, marketing, nonfiction editors and how to find one. That's a little bit outside of this scope, but we'll have lots of.
I have a great editor, Nancy. If you want to email me, I'll connect you.
Perfect. And we have lots of editors in the Women in Publishing Summit community too. So you can start by asking through that. Through that group too, but Honoree's got a great one that she'll put you in touch with. So promotion without buying ads, that is a much bigger topic. But yeah, I think the beta course and growing your audience, maybe with the beta, or how to grow the audience to launch a beta.
Yeah.
What do you think about those
How
topics?
about launching a book with an advanced reader team?
That's a topic.
So you don't need ads if you do that.
Yep. Yes, exactly. So we'll put our minds together and figure out which one of these is the best one to go. All right. Well, thank you so much. This was great.
Thank you.
And give us a few hours. It takes a little while to render the recording, get it uploaded, send it all the places, but you will receive a recording and you will receive the links that we talked about. So you don't have to go digging around or worry about it if you weren't able to move over to that right now. And I appreciate your time and coming and learning and again, open your mind to the possibilities and how you can expand and really make a business from what you're doing, because this is what we love and we love the idea of being able to do it every day, right?
Great. Amen to that.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.